Hello everybody and welcome back to City Skylines 2, where once again we loaded up and we unlocked a new milestone. I don't know why. I have no explanation for this. Now, other things that I do have an explanation for are things like this river, right? We knew there would be significant issues with the river in its current state. Now, I do want to check to see what the dig out looks like all the way through here. Okay. Yeah, so we're probably seeing a significant amount of water, and yeah, we can actually see that right here. The water is currently flowing inward, and that's why we're seeing this. So there's a collision of the water coming down this way, and there's water flowing inward. This is not surprising. However, I am going to purchase these two tiles specifically for the purpose of being able to address this situation a little bit. So I want to move out over here. Let's bump up our brush strength up to 100% for the time being. That'll do for now. And I just want to get all of this going out here, right? This will take some time, no doubt about it, to settle out, but something along like this. This will hopefully take some of the pressure off of our territory, or it may make things totally worse. We'll find out. I have no idea how the water is going to react to this situation. It's going to be a whole thing. But we're just going to do something like this for now and get this area hollowed out. And we're not looking to be too awfully clean about it. I'm just looking to get this done. There we go. So something like that. Now, we can resume and watch the chaos. Okay, yeah, there's definitely some chaos happening. Oh my. The water is very confused. And that's not shocking. That is not shocking at all. I'm not sure what's going on with all of the abandoned houses up over this way, by the way. I do want to... Oh, I didn't mean to get rid of that one. I do want to eliminate some of these. That one's no longer abandoned, apparently. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure why these guys are all abandoned, or why we didn't extend this highway out. That's an interesting question. Oh, I see. We don't have on-off ramps over here. That's exciting. I must have completely forgotten on-off ramps over here somehow. And so there's probably just lack of access to stuff over here. It would be pretty difficult to make your way out of here because you'd have to go on either Briarwood or Butler Street and then make your way up to Valley Highway up over here. Yeah, that was my own fault. Okay, absolutely no problem there. This area did not get as finished as I thought it did. So that's fine. We can just finish this off real quick, and we can just bring this highway down to about here-ish, but that does have overlapping items. We would need to bring it to about here. Okay, we'll put it there for now. That's fine, and now we'll need to do our on-off ramps. So real quickly here, and I can definitely see there's some... awkwardness here, but it's okay. It's close enough. We're going to certainly bring up some on-off ramps. So an on-off ramp right here and right here. That'll make things a little bit easier over this way, but more importantly is going to be these off over here. That's giving slope too steep. We might have to back this off a little bit. That has to be pretty far out there. Okay, that's noted. So, to that end, I want to get this guy coming out over here. Hang on, we're at -10. There we go. And this needs to come out not quite that far, actually. So more like over, not even there. More like about here or so. Yeah, but that angling is all wrong. So I'm going to try to get this one in again. We'll bring this guy out about here. And then bring it in up over there. That's a little bit better. Okay, so next up, we'll get our off-ramps over here. No problem there. Excellent. Somewhere around there will do. Next up, we'll get an on-off ramp set over here. So this will be an on-ramp right about there. And then an off-ramp right about there. It's a little lopsided, but it'll do. And then out over this way is, of course, going to be an on-ramp. And then an off-ramp. Okay, so I believe that is this area actually completed at that point. Cool. So hopefully that will stop all of the issues up over this way. I think it was just lack of access for things like hearses, right? So I don't know where this hearse that was dispatched was. Oh, it's literally right here. Okay, so there it is. Some people are left outside this basic service of water? I mean, I don't know about that. Some people have a little too much water, I feel like. We've got some flooding issues going on down here. It will take time for the water simulation to figure out what it's doing here. Absolutely. We have massively disrupted the water simulation, and it's going to take a moment. Like, we can see awkward things like this where it's very confused. Oh yeah, just look at everything that's going on here right now. It is so confused at this moment. I'm hoping that it will settle. We'll see. What we do have at this moment is water flowing in from the ocean, but now it's no longer flowing in here. It's now flowing in out here, and hopefully hitting this flow more like here instead of more like here. That's the idea. But it will take a little bit for this to settle, and so we're just going to let that be for the moment. I think that it is improving, though, as I look at this. Pretty sure it is. Also, I really wish it remembered that we don't want the ads on. There we go. So this is all getting rebuilt. No problem whatsoever there. The real question now is, if we're going to expand our residential, where are we going to expand it to? Right? That is the question right now. And I mean, we can definitely do something like expanding it out over here, although technically this is in water. I guess this is technically... Oh, yeah, this is water here. Okay. That'll just need to flow out, or is that just standing? It's just standing. We have some standing water over here. Will it eventually dry out? I know in City Skylines 1, you could build a pumping service to deal with that. I'm not sure if such a thing exists for City Skylines 2. But there's definitely water right over here. That's for sure. The dam is definitely functioning. It is doing its job. Yeah, we're having no issues with water height at this point. No issues at all. The real question then is, what is going on down here, right? And we have a bit of an excess of water in this area at this moment. I do think that the overall trend is that the water level is dropping. That is my sense of it. Although technically I don't know that for a fact. But there are definitely some people with some too much water problems. That's definitely a thing that is happening. We also see some high rent going on over here, and these buildings are getting abandoned again. So I'm wondering why they're getting instantly abandoned here, and they definitely have ways to get to locations. So I don't know on that front. We'll think about that and see if we can diagnose that. But for the time being, I'm much more interested in checking out how the water simulation is progressing. The answer is there's a lot of water over here. A whole lot of water. And there's not a whole lot of water up over this way. Like, up over here, there is some water. No doubt about it. Is this actually coming through the dam? I mean, it's supposed to be. I think the water is slightly confused. It appears to be flowing up this cliff. Yeah, that's mildly strange. I think we need to do something about this situation out over here. So let's just see what happens if we soften this out a wee bit. Yeah, see, it wants to get this water in here. So I think that's part of our core problem. I think we're a little too close over here. So I'm going to use the level terrain tool at this height here, and we are going to just bring this out a little bit from the side of our road here. Just a small amount. Not have it be quite so right up against the road. Now, this is going to start creating some issues because we're starting to go down in altitude, so I'm actually going to bring this out over here and do something along the lines of this. And then we're going down in altitude again. We'll smooth this out on the other side soon enough. But then just something kind of like this for the moment. Okay. So now we can smooth this out on this side here, right? And we can just do... Oh, I do not like that. Get that back in there. There we go. We can soften this out over here. We don't want to soften it really on this side. But we can do something like this. Cool. And hopefully this water will go away. One other thing I wouldn't mind attempting is taking this out of here and leveling this up over here and seeing what happens with this water. So we do see that there's water under here now. Indeed. The water appears to be very upset. Very upset. And also slightly haunted. Excellent. That is perfect. So we're going to, bring this on in over here. We're going to need to bring this up, but it is in water. This is all considered water here. I mean, there is this water here. I think it will eventually dry out when there's no source of water, right? That's definitely how it worked in City Skylines 1. No doubt about that. That said, it does look like the water is flowing up the cliff over here. So I think that it's a little broken over here as well, and that's not shocking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the level tool over here, and we're just going to push this out a little bit. Okay, yeah, that's definitely doing something. We're going to push this out a little bit away from this road. I think that we're just in too tight. I think that's a core issue here. So I'm just going to grab this altitude now, and we can just bring this out like so. We're a little bit too inward here, but we can just soften this out a little bit like this and get kind of these cliffs going. I do like the cliff effect, but what we're really looking for here is just to push it out a wee bit. Okay, this is getting a little too low again. So it would need to be something about like this. And we'll just grab this altitude now. And just pushing it out ever so slightly. Right? And then we'll just smooth this out up here. Ooh. Hello. That is quite a hole that we've created. So we're going to, of course, soften that on out of there. And I want to soften this guy a little bit. Whoa. That was not what I wanted to do. I want to level this guy back out a little bit. But now it's actually reasonably good. I'm okay with that. So the question is, as we get this worked through, is this what is causing our issues with the water? Well, I think in part it's just that the water still needs to settle. It does take a while to do that. But I do also want to just work our way through this a little bit and get this river area completed. Now, I do want to change up our altitude here a bit. We're clearly going downhill a bit. Okay. And we'll just add a wee bit of terrain out over this direction. I don't want to add too much. This is maybe a little more than I wanted to add. But something kind of like this. Just adding a tiny bit of riverfront property over here, except we're not actually going to be, doing anything with it. This is more than what I wanted, but it's okay. So now we're leveling this up over here, right? And we're going to start running into, well, a lot of water over here. No doubt about that. Okay. So with this being tossed in, the question is this going to start drying out on this side? And I'm not going to do the other side just yet, and we should probably, set these altitudes to something reasonable. But for now, that will cut off the flow of water through here. And the question is, will that begin to dry out? Yes, these are currently submerged. We have the best internet connection you've ever seen, But we also have the craziest water. So what I'm really hoping to see from that is, and we'll clean that up a little bit soon enough, but what I'm really hoping to see from that is that places like this start to dry up. There's definitely still water in the road here. We could potentially carve a like small channel here. So we would use like the softened terrain tool here, and we just carve a small channel kind of like that and let the water flow out. In theory. And then we put it back in. But I'm not sure that the water actually is flowing out. I think this is just actually at the level of the water. So it's a little awkward, no doubt about that. I want to grab like this altitude here. We'll just bring this right back in for now. Okay. Another thing we could do, of course, is just take out these sections of road like that. And then just rebuild it. Does that solve the problem in this area? I want this to be in Curve Tool. Curve Tool, thank you very much. So then it would come in somewhere over here, right? And I'd like it to come in maybe a little steeper than that. Or rather, a little sharper than that. Sure, something like that'll do. So now we don't appear to have any water over here. Okay. So that's one way to get rid of the water, I suppose. But how do we handle it in these already built up locations? Well, we may have made some issues here. No doubt about it. But we can look at this water and say, yeah, that's not how water works. This fire engine is currently rescuing. I did see this just drop, though. Yeah, it's definitely dropping. I think that these areas are drying out. In which case, of course, that means that we need to do the same thing out over on this side. If they are indeed drying out, then that is a very good sign. So we'll take this up to 100, and I'm just going to level this out. Right about here, we're just going to add a little bit in. And currently, this is all going to be underwater. That is understood. We're going to need some additional altitude here. Almost certainly. So let's actually just pop up over here where we're solidly above water, right? So all the way up over here at the dam, and I'm just going to level this out over here just to add a little bit of an embankment here, and it's going to be crazy. Absolutely crazy looking. But for the time being, that's what we're going to go with. Until we get this water situation under control, I'm just adding a little bit of terrain over here. Okay. Like I said, this is going to be absolutely bonkers. Just absolutely wild. Cool. We'll smooth this out later once the water gets a little bit more under control, is the idea. And I'll just get this area up a bit. Sure, that'll do. Yeah, we've got some areas up over here that are going to need work. No doubt about it. But let's just bring this right on through here. We're now in the problem area. And things are going to get very tall very quickly over here. Very tall indeed. Things are going to get really wacky, in fact. Like, the camera is going to be jumping all over for a moment. And that's reasonably fine and fully understood. Okay, so we'll just do something kind of like that. It's insane. Yes. But there's a method to our madness. And that method, of course, is that we want this water to go away. So it will eventually dry out. That's the idea. Once it does dry out, and once the water over here starts to settle in a little bit more, which I think we're getting there, but we can see that the water level is still higher than it... maybe it's not higher than it used to be.
Tonight we are doing a musical tour of...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's higher than it used to be. So obviously this is an eyesore, right? And we're going to fix it. Don't get me wrong. We are absolutely going to fix that, but we need to wait for it to dry out first. I do think that we are seeing the water recede.
District is booming. as the area is attracting more high-end
That's the
stores,
theory anyway.
bringing
I
latest
think that
and
the water is
luxury to
receding.
our neighborhood.
We can take a
You can
look
now
at
shop for
areas
designer
like
shoes while sipping a
this,
fancy
right?
local
And we can keep an
Jarman
eye on them.
latte. Or so my wife tells me. That's
And
good
look for a water
business
tick here.
and good for the community.
I just saw the water go away here. Whether that means it's receding or not, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it naturally goes away after a while. This is horrific, and I absolutely hate it. We're going to, of course, be smoothing a lot of this out, and we can do this internally. We can absolutely do this internally. Really what we want to do, I think, is use the level terrain tool and just pick, like, this level and do some of this internal work here. So that would mean something along the lines of this, right? And we don't need this to be anywhere near this thick. And once we get this at a more reasonable level, out over here, we can actually fill all of this in so that the water goes away. Something like that. And then we would have this wall out over here. And then this would just come up over here, right? And then we'd be able to soften terrain out over this way. Get rid of those cliffs. And yeah, that's going to need work up there, but something along the lines of that, in theory. Now, this is going to want to be spiking all over still. We're going to use the level terrain tool here to clear out this little area. There we go. And we'll continue to clear these. But for now, I just want to get this back area dealt with. There's a traffic jam over here. Honestly, I'm shocked that the city is still functional at this moment. But whatever, it does appear to still be functional. And really, I want to be at like this altitude now, right? So we've raised up our altitude a wee bit. Hi, water. Is that water? Yeah, that's water. Okay, so we're going to just fill that right back in. Cool. Something along the lines of that for right now. Now, there's still a lot of abandoned structures going on down here. As to why, I'm not entirely certain. Unhappy due to lack of entertainment and high noise pollution. Okay, so presumably it's just lack of entertainment then. So, we know that we're only allowed to build small parks anymore, and actually that's kind of fair enough in some of these areas. So we can put in a small park here. We can put one in here. We can put one in here. There's already a water park up over here, it feels like, so I don't know that we need to add anything there, right? But we can certainly put a park in over here as well, and that's reasonable coverage throughout this area. So if we look at this happiness here, well, it's now collapsed, but if we look at this, walking distance to elementary school is -4. So they don't like the distance to their elementary school. That's probably fair enough. We don't have an elementary school super nearby. Confirmed. We have an elementary school up over here. We could knock out one of these roads and put one in over here. And that might not be the worst idea. There's also not really a way for foot travel to cross this highway. Can we fix that? I think we can. Gravel roads, alleys, pedestrian streets. Okay, so if we were to bring a pedestrian street over here, right? We'd need to have like a pedestrian bridge. Wooden support structure with roof on top of the bridge deck. Okay, so hypothetically, I don't think that these are actually pedestrian. So, a pedestrian street here would be interesting for sure, but it's kind of huge. It's kind of huge. Hypothetically, what if we were to take it out over this direction and take it underground? That slope too steep there. And then we've got overlapping items. Okay. Yeah, I think the major problem here is simply that there isn't a good way for pedestrians to make it through here. Out of curiosity, could we just do a pedestrian street right here? Yes, we could. So we do a pedestrian street there. Anywhere else we can do a pedestrian street. This needs to be elevated for that to actually work. And I think this is the only spot where it's elevated. But at least there's a pedestrian street over here now, so we can take a look here. Cool. They're going to be much more happy now. In theory. At least on this side. On this side, I think we're better off removing a street, like right here, and replacing this with an elementary school. So the elementary school will end up going like there. Just like that. So that should solve a lot of these abandonment problems, I think. High crime out over here. Okay, that could definitely do it too. So a police station, there isn't one super nearby. We could just slot one in somewhere up over here in theory. Okay. Now what do they got? High noise pollution and unreliable internet service. Well, we can definitely think about a radio mast out here. There is a lack of coverage out here for sure. So we'll put in a radio mast there. And we can take a look at how our coverage is doing now. The answer is fine out over here. It's over here that's lacking the coverage now. So we can put in some coverage there. Maybe a little bit of coverage up over here. And we're lacking a little bit out this way as well. Cool. So something like that will be significantly better. Now, I want to check in on the status of the water here. The water level has definitely dropped. The river's water level has dropped. Hopefully it is much closer to its actual water level now. But we're going to need to get rid of our mega walls at some point. That's definitely going to need to happen, and hopefully this water will drain out. Yeah, these things are being destroyed by flooding. That is not at all shocking. Okay, so that's reasonably fine for the moment. This flooding is, of course, going to need to be removed. Now, one thing that we can think about doing for that is we can use the slope terrain tool. So the target height here would be like this water level. And we could do something hypothetically like that. And just use the slope tool to do something like so. As a hypothetical. Now then. The water level over here is still a little high. I think that's pretty clear. So we need to regulate the water height here, right? And the question is, how are we going to go about doing that? The water is very, very high out over this way. But that is something that we can address, I think, in the next episode. We definitely see some of this water flowing down this slope that we've created. So that's good. Unfortunately, our general water level is still too high over here, but we'll work on that. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Upper Cumberland Gamers. I just realized it probably has something to do with the fact that we removed the slope. That could be a problem. We'll think about that. Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.